He caught the way she tilted her head while listening to someone else speak, and his stomach knotted. It was muscle memory, a reflex from another life, one he'd buried 15 years ago. When her eyes met his, the room seemed to drop into slow motion. Sarah. She was supposed to be dead. He'd mourned her, raised their daughter alone, built his life on that loss. But here she was, alive, successful, and staring back at him with the same shock. Emma had shown up at his office that day. Chloe's house was off limits because of the flu, and Jake had stashed her in the break room. He was still adjusting to the surprise when the CEO introduced herself, Sarah Mitchell. Her voice was lower, her hair longer, but everything else hit him like a freight train. The way she shifted her weight onto her left foot, the subtle cadence of her words. It was her, his Sarah, who'd walked out when she was 7 months pregnant and, 2 weeks later, died in a car accident. Or so he thought. After the meeting, she approached him directly. The air between them was taut with recognition, disbelief, and 15 years of grief. "You're supposed to be dead," he said in the only voice he could manage. She asked to speak privately. Before more could be said, Emma knocked on the door, and Jake shut it down for the day. That night, as he was trying to wrap his head around it, a text came from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Tomorrow." When he demanded to know how she'd gotten his number, the answer made his skin crawl. "I've been keeping track." And then, the gut punch, "Because I'm dying. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months, maybe less." They met the next afternoon in a coffee shop. She looked smaller out of the business suit, more fragile, but her eyes were the same. She told him everything. How her cousin had been CIA, how her family's past in Bosnia had put her in the crosshairs of violent people, how threats had been made against their unborn child. Disappearing was the only way to keep Emma safe. A staged accident, a Jane Doe in the morgue, a paper trail that made her death official. She'd spent years under different names, sending untraceable checks, hiring investigators to keep tabs on Emma from a distance. 5 years ago the danger ended, but she stayed away, convinced Emma was better off without her. Then came the diagnosis, and with it the urgency to meet her daughter before time ran out. Jake didn't promise forgiveness, only that he'd tell Emma the truth. That night, the conversation with his daughter was as raw as he'd feared. Emma listened, asked direct questions, and when she learned Sarah had been watching her from afar, she demanded to see the photos. Emma asked Jake, "How do I look?" "Perfect," he said. The meeting began with a whisper, Emma trying out the word "mom" for the first time, and quickly moved into candid territory. Emma asked why Sarah hadn't come back sooner, if she'd been lonely, if she was scared now. Sarah answered honestly, and when she admitted she'd been there for Emma's first soccer goal, her science fair, her piano recital, Emma's eyes widened in recognition. Grace came easier to Emma than Jake expected. She took Sarah's hand and suggested they not waste any time. They talked for 2 hours, about Sarah's childhood in Bosnia, about the grandmother Emma was named after, about Emma's school and dreams. By the end, Sarah was exhausted. But they'd agreed to meet again the next day. Walking back to the car, Emma told Jake she felt sad but grateful. "We can't have everything we missed, but at least we can have something." That night, Jake lay awake thinking about the days ahead. There wasn't enough time to rewrite their history, but maybe there was enough to give Emma the answers she'd always wanted. Enough for Sarah to know the daughter she'd loved from a distance. Enough for Jake to let go of 15 years of anger. They'd make new memories, lunches, soccer games, quiet talks that wouldn't erase the past but might soften its edges. It wasn't the happy ending any of them had imagined, but it was theirs, and for now, it was enough. Today would be stories that couldn't be told in quick, careful sound bites. And stories, Jake knew, had a way of changing how people saw each other. Sarah was already there when they arrived. Emma saw her and broke into a half-smile before catching herself, as if remembering she wasn't ready to give that away so easily. "I brought lunch," Sarah said, sliding one of the bags toward Emma. "Turkey and Swiss, no mayo. Your dad mentioned you can't stand it." Emma froze, unwrapping the sandwich. "You remembered that from what?" "My file." The edge in her voice wasn't anger exactly, but it was a reminder. This woman had been a spectator, not a participant. Sarah didn't flinch. "From your 7th birthday. I sent cupcakes to the school. That was the first time I ever read an ingredient list by myself." For a while, they ate in relative quiet. and Jake thought maybe the second meeting would be as cautiously easy as the first, like it had suddenly become fragile. Because I didn't want him to feel like I was haunting his life. I'd taken enough from him already. And if he knew, he might have told you. And if you knew, you might have felt obligated to find me. That could have been dangerous. Emma frowned. Dangerous for you or for me? Both, Sarah said quietly. But mostly for you. Then Emma glanced at him. Did you ever feel it? That she was there? Jake hesitated, then nodded. Once. Your 10th grade soccer semifinals. I saw a woman on the far side of the field. Sarah's eyes widened in recognition, then narrowed. Not here, she said firmly, standing so quickly the bench rattled. The man didn't move closer, but his gaze locked on her like a fixed scope. You've been ignoring calls, he said. His voice was low now, but the tone was dangerous. Emma looked between them. Who was that? No one you need to know, Sarah said, her voice clipped. To Jake. She added under her breath. We need to go. Now. They walked fast toward the parking lot, Sarah positioning herself between Emma and the stranger. Jake kept glancing back. Emma was quieter than usual, pushing pasta around her plate. Finally, she said, Dad, is she telling us everything? Jake wished he could say yes. Instead, he said, she's telling us what she thinks we can handle. That's not always the same thing. Emma nodded slowly, then pushed her plate away. I can handle more than she thinks. 2 days later, Sarah texted Jake, need to see you alone. Urgent. They met at the same coffee shop. Her face was pale, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. That man at the park, she said, used to work for my father. He thinks I know where some money is hidden. Money that could get him killed if it lands in the wrong hands. I don't. But he doesn't believe me. That's why I came back under my own name. It was a way to flush him out before I get too sick to fight. Jake stared at her. You used Emma as bait? No, she said quickly, leaning forward. I'd never put her in harm's way. But if he was going to find me eventually, I wanted it to be now, while I can still control the outcome. Jake felt the old anger creeping back. Control the outcome? Sarah, you're dying. You can't protect her from everything anymore. And if you're not careful, you might not even get the time you have left. She held his gaze. Then help me. Not for me, for her. If I disappear again before I explain everything, she'll never forgive either of us. That weekend, Jake drove Emma to the park again. Sarah was there, this time without paper bags or small talk. She hugged Emma first, then looked her in the eyes. I need to tell you something important, and it might change how you see me. Emma didn't look away. I can handle it. Sarah took a deep breath. Someone from my past is here. He might try to talk to you, to get to me. If that happens, you walk away and find your dad immediately. Promise me. Emma's brow furrowed. Why would he talk to me? Because you're my daughter, Sarah said softly. And because people who want something will use any leverage they can. For a moment, the three of them sat there in the warm afternoon, the air heavy with things said and unsaid. Emma reached for Sarah's hand, her grip steady. Okay, I promise. But after that, you tell me everything. No more half-truths. Sarah's eyes glistened. Deal. Jake watched them, feeling the fragile balance they were all trying to keep. A mother desperate to make up for lost time, a daughter determined to understand her own history and himself. Caught between protecting Emma and letting her step into the truth. Somewhere in the park, a camera shutter clicked. Jake turned sharply, scanning the crowd, but saw only parents pushing swings and kids chasing each other across the grass. Still, he knew what he'd heard. And in that instant, he realized something.